In the news today is the story of Grayson Bryce, a 9-year-old boy who was bullied for wearing a My Little Pony backpack to school. The school subsequently banned him from wearing it because it was making him a target for bullies, and the usual outrage ensued. In many ways, this story mirrors the tale of anyone who is persecuted for being different, and has close parallels with the ever-contentious issue of female rape, and whether or not it's fair to suggest that the way women dress and the way they behave is a factor in whether or not they are more likely to become targets. Just yesterday I was watching a true crime documentary in which an investigator noted that a murder victim's actions had put her at greater risk. The woman was drunk and walking home alone at night. There was no suggestion that it was the woman's fault that she had been targeted, but clearly her actions increased her vulnerability. Looking at the issue from an even broader perspective, it seems to me that the issue is a microcosmic representation of Americans' views of freedom of expression as embodied in the Constitution. The issue is not whether Grayson has the right to wear a My Little Pony backpack to school, but whether it's prudent for him to do so. Schools regularly come up in the news for banning certain t-shirts or other items designed to convey a message. Let's get one thing straight right away. Schools are entitled to set and enforce whatever dress code they like. If they want to say that the colour pink is banned, that's up to them, and if parents don't like it, they're welcome to object in the appropriate forums or withdraw their children. Furthermore, even freedom of speech does not permit hate speech or fighting words. So when smart-ass kids go to school or a prom wearing a Confederate flag t-shirt or dresses, they are making a political and most likely racist statement. In my view, while school should be a place where minds are stimulated, it is not appropriate for students to disrupt whatever small harmony may exist by turning every second of every day into a political rally, especially when espousing opinions of bigotry. So, to go back to Grayson and his backpack, there are two sides to the issue: how his mother behaved and how the school reacted. The boy was being bullied as a direct reaction to the clothing he was wearing. It's all very easy to declare in sweeping statements the school should have dealt with the bullying, but unless you've ever worked in a school, you have no idea how close to impossible that can be. There are 1,000 little ways in every day that bullies can torment a boy well under the radar of any teacher. A little word here, a little nudge there, exclusion from their games, isolation from his friends, campaigning against him, and far more besides. Schools simply don't have the resources to monitor any student that closely, and quite frankly, as in rape accusations, it often comes down to the victim's word against the bullies. Schools are not equipped or trained to evaluate bullying allegations, and there's a constant background noise of whining by children about other children. Given the reality of this situation, and the fact that the school has a duty of care to ensure the boy's safety, they took the prosaic approach and told him not to wear the backpack to school. Now I hear ultra-libs howling that this is victim blaming, just as it is when you suggest that a woman might want to be mindful of what she wears in certain locations. But it's not. It's not blaming anyone, it's taking a prosaic approach. Feminists often retort with, "Don't tell me what I should wear, teach your son not to rape." Such comments are asinine and facile soundbites. Males already know that it's wrong to rape, it's just that many of them don't care. You might as well say, teach your daughters not to become shoplifters or child beaters. The issue is not primarily one of education, although I certainly accept that more education delivered in a meaningful way can help. The issue is that some people simply place their own desires ahead of those of others, even when enacting those desires leads to the pain or even death of other people. It amazes me that rational, articulate people such as Rebecca Watson and some grey bloke seem incapable of acknowledging one simple reality: the fact that all the education and punishment and vigilance and moral outrage against rape will not eliminate rapists. They railed against Thunderfoot for daring to suggest that perhaps in addition to teaching that rape is wrong, one of the ways in which we can minimise it is to take a prosaic look at our own behaviour and ask if there's anything that we can do that reduces our chance of becoming a victim. A black person has the right to walk alone through the middle of a KKK rally, but no right-thinking person would suggest that he does so, because such an action has consequences, tantamount to a death wish. At best, such an action would be ridiculously naive, and at worst, it's outright provocative. Either way, any African American who did so had better have skills like Bruce Lee, because there's a lot of pissed off bigots just waiting to stand their ground. I completely understand that it's a shitty world where bullies make a little boy miserable for wearing a My Little Pony backpack to school, and I love Grayson's love of the wholesome and innocent simplicity of this good-natured cartoon. But the harsh reality is, schools are melting pots for hundreds of kids coping with emotional issues, who lack the maturity and self-awareness to work them through in responsible manners. The one who is different is an easy target. That's not fair, that's not right, but it is reality. So whilst Mrs. Bruce and all her supporters are waiting for reality to reshape itself into their ideal view of how life should be, perhaps a more productive approach would be to show a little bit of maturity and leadership herself and explain to her son that while she celebrates and wholeheartedly supports his preferences, there are times and places for loudly proclaiming them. I'm a karate instructor. Often my young students want to attempt a new rank before they are ready. They argue that they can cope with the disappointment of failure, but I've seen too many students quit after failing a rank test. Because it's one thing to contemplate the abstract concept of failure, but when you're the only failure in a room full of kids who has just passed, the reality is much different. So I show leadership, and unless I believe a student can cope with the disappointment, I strongly discourage them from attempting before they are ready. For some, failure is a lesson that will toughen them, but for many it ruins their confidence. Likewise, it's fine for Mrs. Bruce to hold the high-minded moral opinion that her young son should be able to take a My Little Pony backpack to school. But as someone tasked with guiding that child to adulthood, she may be better to explain that sticking to ethical principles can sometimes destroy you. I'm all for standing by your values, but even the greatest military commander knows you must choose your battles carefully. American atheists has clearly failed to recognise this fact, and by churlishly asserting themselves at each and every opportunity, in spite of the tactical or humane wisdom of doing so, they have created enemies that they didn't need to create. Opposing the 9/11 cross was a typical example of why even other atheists are sometimes embarrassed to share the same label as them. We all recognise that the Westboro Baptist Church picketing the funerals of dead soldiers was monstrously insensitive, yet how was the 9/11 memorial protest any better? The point is, of course, everybody recognises that freedom of expression, be it wearing a skimpy bikini, a Confederate t-shirt or a My Little Pony backpack, is a principle that we can all support. However, any person that is naive enough to believe that availing themselves of that right at any time is without consequences is a fool. Nurturing the courage to be yourself is a valuable exercise, but not at the expense of your sanity or your life. Whining about the right to wear a bikini to a redneck bar whilst you are getting raped will be little deterrent to the rapist and little comfort to you. Likewise, complaining that bullying shouldn't be allowed once your young son's confidence has been forever shattered is not the action of a responsible, loving parent. It's the action of a fool who places her principles above her child's well-being. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.